Now we're on Daf Mem Amud Beis. So we're going through these three halachos that we're deriving from Es Badam Ubitfila. Number one, S is going to teach me what? That Amin Shebe'etzba. Now, what's Amin Shebe'etzba? Okay, there are certain blisters that a person, in this case a Kohen, has on his finger. And the question is, does that impede his ability to sprinkle the blood? And the answer is no. That the Kohen can sprinkle the blood directly from his finger, even if unless it's a chatzitza, but even if he has a blister, then that's not considered a chatzitza, and he could sprinkle the blood. Next, badam. What does that teach us? Shehe badam shir tvila meikara. That the amount of blood of dam, the volume of dam that was received immediately into a klishares was a volume that lends itself to tvilas etzba. And vitaval velo misafik. The finger of the Kohen Gadol has to go into the dam. He's got to mamish dip it into the dam. Even though there's dam on the kosle hakli, on the walls of the vessel, he can't just simply put his finger into the dam that's attached to the walls of the vessel. And the Gemara now explains why we need all these dinim. Itzrich lemichta badam. And badam means that what? That there's got to be a certain volume of dam that was received from the outset in the kli. If it only said vitovel, I would have thought afagav the leka shir tvila meikara. Even if initially, when the volume of dam was very low when it was received in this, but later on, there was more dam, and you might say that what? That who cares whether there was dam of that volume initially, as long as there's dam now at the point in which he's dipping his fingers, and there's a kosov about dam to teach us that no, the possibility of dipping in his fingers and being machshir the hazoyos is contingent on the condition that the measure of dam that would be royal tvila, that volume of dam was received in the kli from the get-go. Okay, fine. So the Kohen Gadol has to dip his finger into the dam, but maybe he could use the dam that's sort of attached to the walls of the kli, va'afilu misafeg. V'tovel means he's got to dip his finger into the dam. Mizbach Torres Hasamim Lamali. What? That's also an extra pasuk. Shim lo nischanech hamizbeach v'ktoras hasamim lo hayamaz. So this has to do with the chinuch of the mizbeach, and the chinuch means like the break-in, the initial avoda, which is the avoda of ktoras hasamim. And if the mizbeach was not nischanech, it didn't achieve chinuch, then the whole enterprise of zrikas adam, of hazoyas adam, would not be applicable. Okay, now very quickly we're going back to the brisa that supported Rav Papa before, that with regard to the par of Yom Kippurim, we need to derive those three dinim from Es and Badam, right? The blister and the measure of dam that has to be received in the kli, and the law of dipping the finger into the kli, is all this will apply to the power of Yom Kippurim. Tanya Kavasi, the Rav Papa will support that. V'asa kasher asa. Okay, fine. So we have V'asa kasher asa, but Lomai Talmud Lomar Lapar, right? Why does the Torah have to add the word Lapar? The Rabbos par Yom Kippurim lechol ma she'omor be'inyan. Divrei Rebbe. So this comes to include the chatas of Yom Kippurim, of the power of Yom Kippurim, to everything that was stated here in this context, and we'll have Rabbi Shmuel to disagree. So what is going on here between Rebbe and Rabbi Shmuel? Rebbe is reflecting what we learned in the original Brisa back on Lamed Tes, that when it says La Par, that's an allusion to the chatos, the par chatos of Yom Kippurim, and it teaches us specific laws. Rebbe adds that this comes to include Yom Kippurim, the power of Yom Kippurim in everything that's written in the pasuk of Par Helim Dovashal Tzibur, and that teaches us that all the hazoyos of Yom Kippurim are essential, and there are new laws that were not written in the Yom Kippurim pasuk, in the Parsha Yom Kippurim, that are written here. And these are the laws that are derived from Es Badam. Now, Rabbi Shmuel rejects the drasha of Rebbe, and therefore he rejects the original brisa that Rebbe is supporting. And Amar Rabbi Shmuel, Kal v'chomer. I don't need the pasuk lapar to teach this because I have a Kal v'chomer. Now, this Kal v'chomer of Rabbi Shmuel is somewhat complex. And initially, when we read it, we don't understand exactly what's going on, but the Gemara is going to explicate it. What's the Kal v'chomer of Rabbi Shmuel? Uma b'makom shelo hushvu carbon l'carbon. When you have different animals, species of animals, like you have a goat and you have a bull, and yet hishva maasim l'masim, all the avodos are equal. Okay, so again, we don't understand what Rabbi Shmuel is talking about, but we'll see that in a minute. Is how much more so makom shehishva carbon l'carbon, if you have two karbanos of the same animal, how much more so in Odin, it goes without saying that Yashva Masa Lamasa, that the whole avoda procedure of the Krova will be the same. Now, in the case of the Chatos of Yom Kippurim, it's brought with a par. In the case of Helim Dovashal Tzibur, it's brought with a par. And therefore, with this Kal v'chomer, we can certainly derive that anything that's required with regard to the Par Helim Dovashal Tzibur is ipso facto application. It applies to the Par of Yom Kippurim. So this would teach us all the sprinklings and the hazoyos that are common to both of these karbanos. So why do I need this extra pasuk for the power of Yom Kippurim if I could equate the avodos of the Par Helim David to the Par Yom Kippurim through this Kal v'chomer? And the answer is we're going to introduce a whole nother par, another chatas primis, and that is la par ze paro shel Kohen Gadol. Right, the Kohen Gadol was a scholar, and he ruled in an erroneous ruling, and then he violated that rule, so he has to bring a chatas of a par of a Kohen Mashiach, of the Kohen Gadol. So let's focus on Rebbe first, although the Gemara is going to spend a lot of time on Rabbi Shmuel, but just to see how Rebbe would support Rav Papa, that when it says upar, right, that was the pasuk. And that extra word upar is an allusion to the Paro Shel Yom Kippurim to teach me that all the dinim of S and the volume of the dam, badam, and the law of not suffik but tvilos etzba apply to the power of Yom Kippur. Excuse me. It's not going. Anyway, he's got a summary and overview of the sugya here. It would be nice to go through that, but we'll see if we have time. Now the Gemara goes on to Rabbi Shmuel. Omar Mar, Rabbi Shmuel had this kal v'chomer. Ma b'mokum shalahushvu carbon l'carbon. And nevertheless, the avoda is the same avoda. What does he mean? Milo hushvu carbon l'carbon. Let's go through a number of possibilities. Ilema possibility number one. It's par Yom Kippur Musar Shel Yom Kippurim, right? These are the two unique karbanos of Chatas Pnimios of Yom Kippurim. One is a par, and the other is a sawyer. So again, the two different species of animals. Ikol Mifrach, I would tell you that the similarity here between the par of Yom Kippurim and the sawyer of Yom Kippurim is so striking that it undermines the entire logic of the Kal V'chomer. Why? Because Malanach Shekain Nichnas Domim Lifnai V'Lifnim. What's unique about the avoda of both the sar shel Yom Kippurim and the par of Yom Kippurim is that the dam is sprinkled in the Kodesh Kadoshim. And now you're going to talk about a Kal V'chomer. Here it makes sense that the avodos are going to be similar because they both are in the Kodesh Kadoshim. Ella, here's possibility number two. Par helim tovashal tzibur useiri avodas kochavit. Now notice what's going on over here. In this particular equation, we're talking about chet. We're talking about avam. Right? In the case of par helim tovashal tzibur, the tzibur violated a chi of kares based on an erroneous psak from the Bezdin. And in the case of avodas kochavim, there was an erroneous psak about avodas kochavim. But nevertheless, one is a par and one's a soyer. So he says, Ikal Mifrach, again, I see such a striking similarity between the avodas kochavim soyer and the par helim dov shel tzibur that it completely dissolves the Kal V'chomer. Mitzvah Yedua. Now, what does it mean, Mitzvah Yedua? Well, in the case of Avodah Zarah, obviously we know the Sorah is coming for Avodah Zarah. What about the case of Par Helim Dover Shel Tzibur? The answer is that there is a kapara for an Avera. And therefore the Torah is going to say that the Avodos are similar, but you can't use that as a basis for Kal V'chomer, like to derive the Par Shel Yom Kippur, the Par of the Kohen Mashiach. Ella, now we have possibility number three. Par Helim Dover Shel Tzibur v'Sar Shel Yom Kippur. Because by introducing now the Par of Helim Dover Shel Tzibur, we have now a case of a chet, but that we had already before. What are we introducing now? The sire, not of Avodah Zarah, but the sire of Yom Kippur. Now again, you and I might have thought that the sire of Yom Kippurim is also mechaper al navera, but apparently the Gemara doesn't assume so. So he has a whole description here based on Rashi that what we're talking about is some Tomei who went into the Migdash unbeknown that he was Tomei. And that apparently refers to the Kohen. That's the power of Yom Kippurim. As far as the soyer of Yom Kippurim, that's a kapara for the people in general, the general populace. It's not someone who walked into the Mikdash when he was tummy. Hachi Kamer. Now let's understand. Go back to the drawing board on Rabbi Shmuel's Kavachom. Uma b'moko. Shalo hushvu carbon lekarbon. Right, we're talking about the par of Helim Dover Shel Tzibur. We're talking about the soyer of Yom Kippurim, two different species of animals. High parvaisor is nevertheless hushvu masehem lemasim, masim lemasim. Right, the avoda here is going to be the exact same avoda because these are both chatos primis. Again, there may be various distinctions, but anyway, fundamentally they're the same. Is lamai de kosav behu? Okay. Makom shehushvu karbon lekarbon, right? Then we're talking about the chatos of the Kohen Gadol with the chatos of Yom Kippurim, both of which are parim, to high par v'high par. Eino din. Shouldn't we logically derive the conclusion shehushvu ma'asim lema'asim, that all the procedures should be the same? So therefore, asa le par Yom Kippurim. Why do we need the extra derivation on Yom Kippurim for the par hachatos of Yom Kippurim le'es badam utfila mi par kohen Mashiach? Now we're going to introduce, of course, the par of the Kohen Gadol, and apparently in the context of the par Kohen Gadol, the Torah adds es badam utfila. The osile sor Yom Kippurim miseire avodas kochov mikal v'chomer. Okay, then this is where we'll stop here on the top of Mem Aleph, and I'll thank you and wish you a great Shabbos. And Amir Hashem, we'll see each other on Sunday. Next Thursday, I have an eye doctor's appointment, so we usually meet on Thursdays at noon. My appointment is at 10. There is a chance I'll be back at noon, but maybe we could just for security purposes, make it at 1. I don't know if that's feasible.
It sounds good.
Are you're still here, right?
I'm still here.
Okay, then. Have a great Shabbos.